it's honestly like it's all about transparency, right? I think that's what a lot of people want right now. They want to be heard, and they
Mm-hmm.
understand what is actually going on, right? And when companies are making promises and then not following through or not even saying, hey, this is what's being worked on, then that becomes an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people all the time, it's okay to ask questions of people. It's okay to ask questions of leaders, of companies,
Yeah.
et cetera. Because like like if I didn't ask, three people wouldn't have a job opportunity
Mm.
at a very high income, I'm sure, which is going to be life changing or changing for the direct family at least, right?
Yeah.
Like if I didn't at once, it was going to be just one hire, but because I
Mm.
pressured, now that became three,
Okay.
right? So this is how we create people, opportunity for other people. Sometimes it's a simple conversation, sometimes it's a simple ask.
Mm-hmm. I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether a solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless. Welcome, everybody, to the Speak Your Life podcast. My name is Andre. I'm your host. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get your weekly feed on this podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And also be sure to check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, and like so that more people can get this message. Today's special guest is an Adweek 50 and Savoy Magazine most influential Black executive in corporate America, co-founder of the Sarita and Claire Foundation, which aims to help diversify the justice system, and executive creative director at VMLY&R. Please welcome Walter Geer. All
Can I
right.
make can I make can we do this one part real quick?
Yes, sir.
So the Sarita Claire Foundation, I didn't found that. That was my parents did that.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's all good though,
I
man.
don't know why I thought I
All
must
good.
have misread that.
All good. Don't sweat
That
it.
you were co-founder or something like that. My bad.
No,
Okay.
Diverse Creatives. I co-founded diversecreatives.com.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay.
It's all good, my man. It's all good.
All right. I can redo.
That's fine, dude.
All right. All right. So that was my mistake. But anyways, thank you guys for joining so much, and thank you, Walter, for being here. I appreciate that. Um,
Man.
for taking the time. And quick question before we get into everything: how are you doing? I always like to ask everybody, how are you doing? 1 out of 10, because there's good is. I feel like that's not a good enough answer.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm at like a 7 right now. My
Okay.
life is good. I can't complain. You know what I mean? So I'm in a good place. I have a roof over my head. I'm able to pay my bills. That's a lot to say for some people.
Yeah.
Industry wise, I think in terms of career wise, I'm happy. I feel like I'm successful to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but success isn't about me, man. Success is about us, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if we stop for a minute just to not be so selfless and thinking about ourselves all the time, you'd see that there's so much more that should and could be done for specifically for people of color. So my 7, my 8, 9 comes down to 7 because I feel like we
Mm-hmm.
need to be doing more.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always room to do more. But I'm glad that you're doing good, man. All right. So you ready to speak your life?
Yeah, let's roll.
All right, cool. Man, it looks like from what I've gathered so far from seeing your content and your interviews and everything like that, I feel like the best nickname for you is Mr. Representation. Like you're making sure that there's representation in every aspect, and whether it be in business, the justice system, wherever you are. And I really appreciate that. I want to let you know that. I love the conversations that you've had, like with different people and different podcasts and stuff like that. But what I really like most is what one of the conversations that you had with your CEO of your own company, and just having that boldness to just ask hard questions and be able to have those tough, maybe uncomfortable conversations. But how would you, in your own words, like encourage others to have these tough conversations that are very uncomfortable but are very needed?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I mean, look, change comes from, there's so many people that do so many different things to create change, right? So my approach might not be the approach that you might take or somebody else might take.
Hmm.
I have friends who are like, dudes will like get on the phone and call up a CEO and start going crazy and ballistic, get shit done. I
Yeah.
have folks who are quiet and silent about it and just do the work on the low, right? And then me, I'm about just inspiring people, man. So, everyone has their own approach. I think all approach works. There's no, this works better than another type of thing. Uh,
Hmm.
but for me, man, it's, I think that we are in a moment now where a lot of people are listening, and I'm trying to use the small platform that I have to continue the conversation. As a people, we all, right, all colors get tired real easy, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
last year when we saw those black squares thrown up,
Hmm.
I think there was a handful of us that believe that yes, this is coming. I most certainly was like, yo, this is crazy. People are
Yeah.
down, and over time, it's like unfortunately we are people that get tired, and people forget, right? And
Hmm.
it's unfortunate that we're not seeing the same type of movement or same type of chest beating that we did
Yeah.
almost a year ago to the date. But again, like, I think that everyone's approach is different.
Hmm.
But the point I'd say is that it's important that we try to create opportunity for other people, right?
Yeah.
So we get caught up in, like I said earlier, like we are very, we care often so much about ourselves and not
Hmm.
necessarily about others. And maybe it's because it's later in my career. I'm a little older now. And that desire to be rich and all that stuff, like it doesn't matter to me, right? And
Hmm.
I'm not one of these people that wants to be a CEO and wants to like private jets and Gucci's and this and that and Louis Vuitton. Like,
Hmm.
I don't care about that. Because it's all material, right? So my thing
Hmm.
is, when I die, did I leave this place a better space for other people behind me?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And yeah, one of the things that I've noticed about you, and sometimes people can say one thing but then act another way. Because I think I first encountered you through a clubhouse. It was like a podcast event or a space that they have every Monday at 10 p.m.
Mhm.
And I think it was with Sean and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was like, and I started to hear you talking out, I was like, this dude is very smart, a really intelligent brother. Like, and then you were different in the way that, not to say that everybody else wasn't good, but you were just different in the way that you were just like, hey, hit me up anytime on social media. Just I will answer to, your messages and stuff like that. And I noticed that was different because I don't see a lot of people doing that. And I really appreciated that. And that's what I reached out to you as soon as I could and just try to introduce myself. And here we are now. And
Oh,
so I love that you are looking to be a mentor to different people, or looking to just really truly be about your word. And I guess what kind of really led you into having that concept or that thought process of just being open to just letting anybody slide into your DMs or whatever?
yeah. I mean, the thing is like this, man. You know, I, I've been in this space for like 21 years now, right? And,
Hmm.
and I didn't have a mentor until like almost a year ago, right?
Mm,
More certainly like a mentor, a person of color, or
yeah.
individuals like me that could help me with things. So I understand that throughout this 20 years up until that point, like I always wish that I could have someone to go to and have a conversation with, or go to and ask questions. Because it's different when you have someone who understands where you're coming from, and who's been through the same things as you. And when you look
Mm,
around the room and you see there are a lot of, white men who take on white, other, younger white men. You see older white women taking on a younger white woman. You see this happening
mm,
around you. And because of the lack of seeing us as leaders, we're not getting the same, we're not being taken care of the same way, right? We don't have someone to
true.
take another wing. So, for me, it was always like, well, later in my career, I realized I'm a more senior or creative exec now.
Mm,
The things I wanted, I should be giving to other people. So I
yeah.
always tell people, and I say it all the time, it's like anyone that sends me a message any place, I will always respond to it. Any person that has a question or needs help with something, I will always respond to it. Because I know the importance of being on the other, on the receiving end of being able to get advice with someone.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that mentorship really can make a difference in people's trajectory and their career, and just their own journey personally and stuff like that. So I know I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have mentors or the people that really instilled information and just wisdom into my life. So again, I really appreciate that and I really respect that. So um, I know I was listening to one of the panels that you were on, and you guys were just talking about you growing up. You know, everybody was talking about like their father's influence, and you talked about how your dad he really instilled in you the virtue of patience,
Yeah.
and and I liked how you guys brought it at a different angle about how patience, even though it is a virtue, we know that to be true, but it also has been a crutch for our community as well. And in the way that we've had to wait 400 years for freedom, we've had to wait for to be able to have the first Black president. We've had to wait for so many different things and be patient. Could you talk more about how patience has, I guess, played a role that has actually hurt us?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, man. I think you nailed it on the head when you said we are consistently in this place of waiting, right? Waiting until we're told to
Mm-hmm.
get something, to be something. Um, it's because of that too that
Mm.
we lack the ability to ask for the things that you want, right? Which is
Yeah.
why you start to look at companies. You look at, you ask a Black person why they left their agency or a company, and they might say for more money. And then did you say, okay, well, did you ask for that promotion? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be like, no, right?
Mm.
Right.
Wow.
So there's a lack of being able to ask, and then that ask comes from the part of, when we were younger, we were often told to act or be certain ways around other people that don't look like us, right? Because our
Mhm.
parents say this a lot. Like our
Yep.
parents say things like, like, don't say anything that's going to embarrass me out in public.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So like you're constantly told these things, and then when you're older and you're in these rooms, which is why we tend to cower down,
Yeah.
right? So like when white men want something, they ask for it and they get it. Boom. It's that simple. But we don't do the same thing. We're not as confident to ask for those things because we're consistently being told to wait. It's like someone tells you, like, don't put your hand on the stove, it's hot. Don't put your hand on the. They keep telling you, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna eventually be like, yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that stove because it's hot,
Wow.
right? Even if you might not have touched it, right? Like they keep saying it's hot, I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm not even gonna ask. Right.
Mhm.
So we have to recondition ourselves to ask for things. I talk to people and I mentor folks, and they're talking about job opportunities and negotiating an offer that's coming through. And it's like they say things like, I don't want to ask for more money. Why not? Only thing they can do is say no.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't ask now, guess what? Like your yearly, bonus or whatever, your real review isn't going to go up that much, right? So people, there's this fear of asking for things, right? Out of like, oh, they're going to think I'm a certain way or I'm greedy or this and that. No, like other people do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's I think it is a conditioning, and I like to call it we're primed for patience. Our community is primed for patience. And you're right, it does start from just early on as a kid. You're told, that you can't have that or you shouldn't ask for that because you feel guilty or you feel some type of way or you feel bad. And so we should learn to kind of recondition ourselves and reprogram our thinking and our mentality, because that's really the only way that we're going to have real change if we're able to have real questions and be bold enough to ask those questions like you have had with different people. Like I remember seeing an interview with you and Gary V recently, and that was a very powerful conversation because Gary V is a big influencer, obviously, and somebody I respect as well. But I guess when it came to that conversation, I know that it was about C-suite executives and things like that. I maybe this is something that you do or don't know, but do you know if there was a follow up with that as far as like him hiring those C-suite executives, or do you know any updates on that at all?
So it's my understanding that the other, he said he was going to have them by June 1st. Apparently, one starts on July 1st, and then the third rescinded right before start date.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
that's that's what I've heard thus far.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, hey, see that there we go. Like, see, I'm glad that you were able to have that real conversation with him on Instagrams. Well, excuse me, Instagram, because like now that you sharing this with me, we're able to see like real time, like these are the results. Like it's not just about we're just talking kumbaya. We need to all be diverse and get along, but these are real results that we are seeing, and we need to see this continuously through other companies as well. So I definitely commend you on that conversation as well.
Thank you, man.
The BBC reports a U.S. workers' online study said that nearly 70% agreed public speaking skills are critical for success at work. Maybe you are a student looking to become a prime candidate for that internship, or might I say full-time position, or maybe you have already been in the job market for some time now and you just want to stand out amongst your coworkers looking to get that raise you feel like you've been passed up for too long now. Go to speakyourlife.com/private-lessons. That's speakyourlyfe.com/private-lessons. Again, that's speakyourlyfe.com/private-lessons to become a better communicator tomorrow by signing up today.
Yeah, I agree. And I meant to ask this earlier from the beginning. Here in this podcast, we talk about why the two most important things in life that Mark Twain talks about is the day you were born and the day you knew why. So if you could really quickly, you don't have to give us a day or a year if you don't want to, but you can give us like the era. But what was going on from the day you were born and that journey into knowing why? What led you into this space that you are in right now?
That's a good question, man. I mean, that's a hard question. I don't even know. I think that we all have moments, right? Micro moments that add up to these kind of major, life-changing experiences for us. And I think that it's something that you learn over time. You know,
Mm,
people say things like, "Oh, I want to go and chase. What's my reason? I want to chase my reason. I want to find my reason and my purpose." You don't chase that stuff. You can't go and look for it. This is a thing that just happens, right? Like
mm,
I kind of naturally progressed into the position I am now, just by being curious, and then the other piece by being personally affected. So like, it
yeah,
was like 4 or so years ago, I was laid off from a job where I was like doing crazy business for this job. It made no sense,
yeah,
right? And deciding to take time off, took a year off and spent time with my family. We traveled and we were in the Bahamas, and two things happened when I was like chilling. Like one, I was by the pool and sitting down by myself and
mm,
had this moment of like, damn, like I've done this much at this point in my career, and I
yeah,
feel I haven't done more for other people. Like, how come I'm not doing more for other people? And then it was like in that same moment, I was scrolling through, I don't even know if it was Instagram or whatever, social media, someplace, and I
mm,
saw a meme, and the meme said, if you were to die today, your job will be posted before your obituary.
yeah, yeah,
I was like, well, shit, like I've been focusing so much in this job. So was it like, does a job really define me? Right.
mm,
And in that moment, I realized like I need to speak up and start doing more. And I had been speaking up to some degree, but like until that point, I wasn't doing it like with like this, like no fucks. You know what I mean? Like I
mm,
to a point where everyone has an old the old grandma or grandparents, something like that. This is, you go and meet with me like, oh, grandma's gonna say some crazy shit now.
yeah.
Like I feel like I've almost gotten to that. I don't go over the edge, but like I've gotten to the point of like, I just need to speak up and just say what's on my mind, and so be it. And you could take it or leave it.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm gonna guess you were Generation Xer, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So during that time, like, what do you feel like maybe as a kid, maybe it could have been family or friends that kind of influenced you or pushed you to really just, I don't know, just want to be beyond just average, or just like, hey, I just want to do this job, or I just want to, retire after a few years of working and then just do this whole cycle like a lot of people.
Nah, I've never been that dude. Like I've here's some honesty. I've never really worked super hard for shit. Right. And
Mm,
I've been able to succeed with like, and I hate to say like the bare minimum, but like I do what I need to do to get shit done. Right. And
yeah.
I was high school. I was a, high school All-American in track. I was a, All-American in college.
Yeah.
And I never trained super hard. But, when it comes to this creative stuff, I've been fortunate to come up with ideas at the moments that matter. But like even coming up with ideas is hard. Like as a creative, like you can't, like no one is coming up with amazing ideas every single month. And I was at Viacom, like I left Viacom with like 5 ad product patents, and like to
Wow.
get to that point over 2.5 years, I
Mhm.
was spending, I think I had a budget of $20,000, $20,000 a month. I was spending $25,000 a month. I was spending on innovation and working with different, design folks and companies and this and that and ideating. And I was
Yeah.
busting out like 4 ad products a month. Okay, so four products a month for 2.5 years, and I walked out with 5 that were patented and like 5 good. So like, it takes a significant amount of time to get to that point of like succeeding, whatever success might be for you. But for me, it was at the time these creative executions and ideas. So yeah, it's difficult, man. It's I can't say that, I'm crazy, amazing at what I do, but I'm fortunate to be able to do what I do and do it with some of the people I do with.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. And I actually, I was in Kansas City before I flew back here to Atlanta, and I saw one of the offices of your company. As I was on the way to the airport, I was like, wow, they're huge, they're live, so they're man, you guys are all over the place.
They have like almost 13,000 employees, and it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
That,
so
that,
you,
that one is interesting. I've never not been to that one, but that one,
mhm,
that office used to be an old airport. They bought the airport and then like
yeah.
the whole thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw like a United Airlines plane over there, a few other. I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that they were like that worldwide. Okay, that's really cool. But yeah, I saw that you guys, have been highly ranked on many different categories and stuff like that. I saw like Kansas City was one of the highest ranked locations. So that's awesome. And you've been at the New York location for how many years now?
I think almost a year, man, like 10, 11 months, something like that. 11 months, I think. Yeah, it's gone quick.
Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. So, I, I, man, you're a very interesting guy, and I've never heard of anybody say anything crazy like, "Hey, if I'm gonna be on this panel, y'all better have 13% of
Right.
black folks on this panel, like before I join, because if you don't, I'm not gonna be a part of this." And I've seen how you really stuck by that, and there have been panels that you've withdrawn from because maybe they had 11% or they're just short of the 13%. But what inspired that? I mean, obviously, there's 13% of black folks in the US population, but what really kind of got you to stick by and commit to that? Because there are some people who would say something like that but not really commit to it when there's money involved, or being on a speaker and involves a nice paycheck, and you were like, that's not really what I'm here for. Like, what made you?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It was one of these things I just randomly did like a year ago, and after Ahmad and Floyd and all those things. Like
Yeah.
I was in this moment of feeling like a lot of people were trying to use me, right? So a lot of
Gotcha.
people were like, oh, let's throw them up on this panel, or hey, come in here, speak for our company, or hey, speak over here and keynote this thing, because
Hmm.
right now we need Black people to speak, right? And you're out here talking all this stuff now, so you just come in and makes us look good.
Yeah, yeah.
My feeling was like, I'm not having anybody try to use me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want
Token.
anyone to use me
Hmm.
for like this token me, right? So the idea, I don't even know where it came up. I just like, I don't even know. I wish I knew now that I'm thinking about it. But I was randomly like, yo, it needs to be, there needs to be some representation. What should these numbers look like? And in my head? And I said, well, I'd love to ask for 30, 40%, but realistically, let's just go with what the demo is, and that should be easy enough to hit. And to be honest with you, that simple ask has changed the landscape of a lot of the events that I spoke at, large and medium-sized events. It changed the landscape of, juries that I sat on at some pretty big, award shows. And it's a simple ask, right? And so my thing is I stick to that, and I stand firm by it, because, when I do that, what I do is it brings opportunity for other people, right? That look like me. So, when most of the time they'll say, okay, we'll do it, but we'll try, we don't know if we can find these people. And I say, well, here's my list. And I have a list of like 20 people on my backup, right? So I pull it off my hard drive. Here's the names, here's the LinkedIn profiles. You can check them out. If you want an intro, I can intro you. But my
Gotcha.
entire list is all like mid-level folks, right? Because like other Black executives don't need any more opportunity. We get those opportunities. So mine is about how do I actually pull up someone else, right? So and then of course I go back and stress the importance of bringing mid-level folks, because this is about sharing the spotlight and providing opportunity they wouldn't normally get. So my whole process with that is about pushing and pulling. Right? It's like how do you push up other people up and then pull from behind?
Yeah, I love that. Because I mean, I think sometimes when we can get to a certain place, whether it be like C-suite or whatever, we can sometimes forget about other people or helping other people when it's just like, all right, I made it or I did this, but forgetting like it did take other people to help me get to this point, or it did, I need to, the way that I can pay it forward could be to help other people pull them up. And so I really, like I said, I'll say this again, I respect I respect that about you, seriously, because you're really walking and how you talk it, seriously. And I love that. And this podcast is obviously a testament of that, with many other things you've done.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Hey man, imagine if everyone made that ask. It's not a hard thing. What is someone gonna say? No, we're not doing that. Then
Yeah.
like, nah, fuck you, we're not doing it. I only had one company that basically couldn't fill it, right? And at the last minute I had to pull out. But like every single other individual was down 100%, because if people understand the importance of it, it's just that a lot of times these people are gonna need help, which is why I have my list.
Yeah, no, I love that. And in your journey, like you've talked about how like just the power of asking and things like that, and you've really come, I would say, a lot farther than a lot of people who would have had like the things that you've done, like as far as like, because in this world we realize that academia is not as like a big thing as it was before. Like you had to have a Harvard degree or to get into this top executive position or this position or that position. But you to my knowledge, you have an associate's degree, and then that didn't stop you. Like just because you didn't have a 4-year degree, like you were able to like get into have these amazing opportunities. And how do you speak to people who maybe are feeling a little intimidated because they're facing against maybe candidates of the Harvards, the Yales, Stanfords, or whatever? What do you say to people like that are young, ambitious, but they're driven, but they just may not have those academic degrees?
Yeah, I mean it means nothing to me, but everybody's different, right? So like I couldn't afford to finish my last year of my bachelor's after I transferred. So like I was fortunate to come into this space at a time where .com was booming, and then I kind of pivoted in. And then throughout my career, I've always learned how to keep kind of one step ahead, right? So I was highly relevant, doing things that were, still being kind of figured out, right? So like the extent of that today might be like NFTs and things of that nature, or augmented reality, things like how do you stay ahead?
Yeah.
But what's interesting, man, is that is like for me and a lot of creators, I don't think it's totally necessary. I mean, but then again, like I feel like every designer I meet today has gone to some form of design school, right? I don't have the design acumen that a lot of these new kids have.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't prevent anyone from going after these type of opportunities and from hiring these type of individuals. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to design and development, like you either have the talent or you don't, right? Like it doesn't matter where you went to school. I've hired high school graduates, right, over Harvard students, right? And I'll do it again, right? Like it makes no, like your degree makes zero, like I could care less about where you go to school. I'm looking at your portfolio. When I look at your portfolio, how does it look? Does it look like you could do the work? Cool.
Yeah.
We talk. Does it look like you know how to kind of engage in these types of conversations, pitch, present, all this stuff? Cool. You can. All right, then let's go. It doesn't mean anything else. Now, I will, however, say that like being a person of color, your degree does matter, right? So there's some people that are going to use that as a roadblock or as a deterrent to keep you away from those opportunities. Right. So I tell people like, yo, get the degree, go get the degree, do your thing. Right. If you can go to the Harvard, go to the Harvard. Right. But if you can't afford it, or you have issues with getting into school or so on and so forth, like that shouldn't deter you, because again, talent is talent.
I certainly agree with that. I always say, who you know gets you there, but what you know keeps you there. And I think that you being able to, you've obviously learned how to network really well. And it's not even about the big alumni networks that you had and stuff like that. Just being able to pick up those skills and learn those skills and tools that you've garnered over the years. I think that's a very valuable thing that people need. Networking and just the ability to be able to talk and just express yourself, written and verbally, are just simple skills that people need nowadays. That I don't know. Sometimes the technical stuff, like I think that can be taught. Like that can be taught, but as far as like just the soft skills and everything else, like that's either, like you said, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's I stand firm by that too, man, because a college degree doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at what you do. Like
yeah,
I've worked with some people that with incredible degrees that really ain't shit. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, yeah,
book smart and being able to take a test is one thing, but getting out and
yeah.
actually doing the work is another, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, oh yeah. So, what would you say would be like, I don't know, the most embarrassing or most humbling experiences you've had through your journey that really kind of shaped you and was like a 180 experience?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I've had so many moments, man, but like I'll say that I've had more of like powerful moments with individuals who have been my allies, who put me in
Mm,
positions to succeed. And I think that, sometimes you don't realize what you're being introduced to and or taught until years later. So like I had a guy, talking about an old boss named Jason Witt, who set me up for success before I even realized that he was setting me up for success. It wasn't until years
mm,
later that I was like, oh, okay, I get what happened.
yeah,
Um, and for me, it was like, he was teaching me how to be creative. He was teaching me how to present. And we'd get in client meetings or internal meetings, and he would, last minute be like, yo, you're gonna present. I'm like, what? Right, yeah, you're gonna present. You good? All right, you're gonna open up this pitch. And I'm like on the spot. And I was
wow.
like, you could see my hands like shaking on the mouse like this all the time. But what
Mm,
it's doing is getting me comfortable in those type of environments.
yeah.
And so, it's, I don't know that I had, moments where I've done wrong or whatnot, and kind of like was humbled by it, but I most certainly had moments where people made a significant impact on my life by doing things and creating opportunity for me. But I also know that, oftentimes, these opportunities are presented to people like us, right? Because
Mm,
we've done something for them, right? So like I know that like those opportunities are presented to me because I made those people a lot of money. I happen
yeah.
to come up with ideas that we're actually selling for a lot of money, right? So it was a give and take, but I'm fortunate for the people who I've met who've been able to kind of create opportunities for me throughout the years, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. And as we wrap things up,
For sure.
um, we had this question where we talk about like, if life was like a house and you had to construct it and you had some foundational pillars, what would be one of the foundational pillars of your house, your life?
That's a good question. I'd say I'd start with confidence, right? Because
Mm,
confidence can go so far. I'd then move over to saying, being you, right? Because now
mm,
being you and being confident is two different things, right? Being
mm,
confident, the ability to come into a room and speak or do whatever, public speak, it might be whatever.
yeah,
Being you is about, right, you representing your best, like being authentic,
yeah,
right? So when you come in the room and you're being confident, are you talking like yourself? Are you using the same slang or vernacular you use when you're out with your boys? Or is that different from when you're in the boardroom, right?
mm,
So
mm,
I say that because, then we could go down this path of what code switching is.
yeah,
Code switching, and that hurts us, right? So
mm,
that hurts us because we're spending so much time trying to be somebody that you're not, right?
mm, mm,
Instead of spending that gas on doing the work, right, and just showing up and being you.
yeah,
So those are two big ones. And I'd also say too, man, like relationships matter, right? So like
mm,
you can't be a dick because it's such a small industry. Like the stuff comes back around to you.
yeah,
So establish relationships with the people that you work with, right? Because the people that you directly work with, people on your team, aren't going to stay in the company forever. When they leave and go someplace else and be promoted, like these are all people you're going to grow with. So your network eventually gets larger and larger and more senior, and all that matters, man. And when you create opportunities for people, I mean, it's like you're reaching out to people you know.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's really important. Relationships, just initiating, maintaining, and just like letting them grow. Because you never know what it can lead to, but it's just something that is so important nowadays, more than ever, I would say. But yeah, you're right about that. And last question, we have question of the day. It's just more of like I would say a lighter question than all the other ones we've had today. And that's I have a specific question for you because I saw your IG live. I think it was you and your daughter just cranking out some dance moves with Ashley Everett. And for those of you who don't know, Ashley Everett is Beyonce's head dancer coordinator or something like that. But anyways, so today's question of the day would be, if you were on Dancing with the Stars, who would you choose as your partner outside of Ashley Everett, and why?
It would be my wife, man, because she would,
because I ain't getting in trouble this one.
No, because she would, for one, like she helps me juggle life, man, and me keeps me sane and everything. And she could dance. Dance. So like I know she would guide me right and call me on my shit when I'm not. Our spouses are the ones that push us the most, right? So if I'm gonna win, I need to get pushed by somebody.
That's right. Are you more of a salsa or merengue type of guy?
Nah, man, I can't move my hips like that anymore, man. I'm two steps, and I'm two steps.
Okay, just keeping it simple.
I'm 44 now, man. I can't shake it like I used to.
Just keeping it at home. There we go. But anyways, I want to thank you for being here on this podcast. And again, I don't want to hold this against you for being a New York fan and maybe even a New York Knicks fan, because I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan. We just kind of gentlemen circle. But I'm just very, again, thankful for having you on this podcast, and I'm glad to finally meet you face to face virtually. And anyways, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram. But also, I want you to take this time to follow Walter at Third Geers. That's 3. That's the number 3 RDGERS. Make sure you follow him. Hit him up anytime if you have any questions. He's the man. Anything about marketing, anything about diversity, any panels, that make sure you have your 13% ready on the panel if you want him to be on your panel. But anyways, I appreciate you guys for listening. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.